Basically, you, as a gas buyer, open an account in Russia with Gazprom Bank. You then transfer foreign currency into that account. Gazprom Bank then buys rubles with that money and then buys the gas. It is unclear at this point, I admit, but that certainly fits reasonably well with what we got from Draghi. So I think this is a way of both sides kind of getting what they want. But I still think, judging from what I've read, but I think it is, as you say, unbelievably confusing, and the message is unbelievably mixed. But the text basically says foreign buyers transfer foreign currency to a special foreign currency account, and then the bank buys rubles on the exchange, which is then used to buy gas. Does that explain it? I'm not entirely sure, but that's kind of where I am.
That was better than my effort, guys, so thank you. I guess to stick to the reporting, because if I comment, I'll be deep into the realm of speculation as to what's going to happen here. From what we've heard from the Germans, are they satisfied with the supply, the volume of gas they're currently receiving? At the moment, I think contracts are being satisfied, but whether or not that is going to be enough to deliver what we need going forward is an open question. John, at this point, when you think about gas in Europe, you need to think about not about what's happening now, but what is going to happen next winter. At the moment, storage is, let's call it circa 25% full. The recent weather has been quite warm, and actually we're back into where we would roughly normally be at this stage in the year. So the tanks aren't that depleted. In fact, they're being refilled right now because the weather recently has been so warm. So we're back to we're not too far away from where we would normally be. Now, the question going forward is, can Europe buy enough gas to get the tanks to where the EU would like them to be? I think it's this year 80% full, next year it's 90% full. But that's kind of the trajectory we're on for at the moment. And in order to make that happen, European prices need to remain above Asian prices, because ultimately the swing factor here is not Russian gas, but global LNG, which is going to fill the gap. Guy, just a final question from me. This side of the Atlantic, we'll be looking ahead to the President of the United States later. There's this conversation about a monster reserve release. How is this playing out in Europe? As most people assume that there would be a greater effort from this White House to get in touch with Riyadh. Can we just assume that that outreach has failed? And can anyone bridge the gap between Washington and Riyadh? And can that be done out of Europe?
I'm not sure it can be done out of Europe. I think that's going to be something that is going to be tricky to achieve. Look at what happened when Boris Johnson went to the Gulf, didn't come back with any extra barrels of oil, which I thought was significant. And you think about what is happening here as well with the Iran story. Basically, 1 million barrels a day is kind of where Iran would be. So you take Iran out, you put this oil in. But ultimately, John, this is probably going to widen the spread between TI and Brent. It is going to have more an effect in the United States. But long term, as somebody put it, we're going to talk to the Trafigura chief economist a little bit later on. This is a bonus rather than a pay rise, and this may discourage shale from shipping extra barrels or producing extra barrels. And the other factor as well here that you've got to bear in mind is that refineries still haven't got the barrels from the previous SPR release. So it's going to take a while for this to come through.